Now, I don't know who's not interested in this. I'm going to say this. I'm going to preface this. I'm not familiar with Sam Harris. I mean, I've known of the name. I know that he was mentioned with the likes of Jordan Peterson. Sam Harris's name has come up. I knew nothing more of him than the name, than the context. So when I heard, when I saw that video that went viral on trigonometry where Sam Harris now infamously said, I don't care if there were dead children in Hunter Biden's basement, I still would have voted for Joe Biden. And people were railing on him as of the minute that came out, railing. I mean, I don't know if it was trending. I don't know. I don't follow the trending things, and I don't know if it was trending. Just a lot of people were railing against him, saying, he finally said the quiet part out loud, showing his true colors, yada, yada, yada. I watched that clip, and I was just amazed at, I forget the name of the interviewer now offhand, but the face of the interviewers are like, oh my God, I can't believe what you just said. Take a second to think about it, back up a little, and rephrase. And Sam Harris backed up, thought about what he was saying, and in a very calculated and methodical and well thought out manner, went ahead to reiterate and dig that hole even deeper. Internet went nuts. And I was like, I didn't know Sam from a hole in the wall. I said, okay, like one stupid thing that might have come out improperly, especially when you talk a lot on the interwebs, every now and again, it happens. You can hear yourself talking, but you can't really stop yourself. I mean, I can understand that sentiment. And I'm like, I'm not jumping on this bandwagon right now. Everyone else is giving him a hard time. Well, the benefit of the doubt, in as much as I should have ever given it, or was ignorant enough to know that it was not appropriate, the benefit of the doubt has been eliminated. Listen, I'm going to play it. I'm going to pause and just commentate. He, in his podcast, in a 3-minute and 17-second audio clip. I mean, if there has ever been the applicable use of the Billy Madison, what you just said is the most insanely idiotic thing I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response did you come anything close to what could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul. If there's ever been a moment that justifies that clip, it's this clip. But let's go through this together, because I initially felt bad for Sam Harris. The benefit of the doubt has been eliminated. Listen to this. This is from Tom Elliott. Let me see. I keep forgetting who Tom Elliott is. Biased journalist, Telegram. Irony, anybody who says they're biased typically is more reliable than someone who, I say this with confession through projection, because I know what I say about myself in terms of not being biased. Listen to this, people. Listen to this. I will pause it every now and again. This will show you, by the way, that speaking slowly and using fancy words does not make intelligence. It does not make rational thought. It does not make logical thought. And above all else, it does not make for fair thought. Because what you're going to hear here is egregiously unfair, presumptuous, and above all else, absolutely illogical. Let's start.
I've said on several occasions that I think Donald Trump is a worse person than Osama bin Laden.
You heard that right, people. He said on several occasions that Donald Trump is a worse person than Osama bin Laden. How are we defining worse person? I'm not sure, but we'll get there. I mean, be responsible for one of the greatest acts of atrocities in human history. Maybe you're not quite as bad as Orange Man bad. Hear him out. Let's hear him out.
Now, the statement is obviously meant to get your attention. I get that it's surprising.
Oh, it's obviously meant to get our attention, and it's supposed to be hyperbolic. I get that it's surprising, counterintuitive.
But it's not meant to be hyperbolic.
Oh, okay, thanks.
I can defend every word of a statement like that.
He can defend every word of a statement like that. A subjective qualification of a human being. Okay, let's... benefit of the doubt is still here, people.
What I can't defend are people's misunderstandings and erroneous extrapolations of a statement like that.
Erroneous extrapolations of a statement like that. Sam, it's not that hard. You said Donald Trump is a worse person than Osama bin Laden. That's not hard to understand. You specified it's not hyperbolic. That's not hard to understand. But by the way, people out there, he can't help it if you're stupid and you misunderstood what he said. Black and white was not hyperbole. Let's just keep going though.
Perhaps I should just clarify that statement again.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Because it actually goes a long way to explaining my view of Trump. Why I think he's such a terrible person, but not nearly as scary as some people think he is.
Oh.
And not nearly as scary as many people think I think he is.
I don't know what scary has to do with it. You said he's a worse person than Osama bin Laden. That's the material statement here.
I think Osama bin Laden was a more or less normal human being, psychologically.
Anyone else's like brain actually melting and you feel like it's coming out of your nose? It's who is this guy to make? I mean, let me see. Is Sam Harris a psychiatrist? Is he a psychiatrist or a psychologist? Sam Harris. I didn't realize that his mother apparently founded Golden Girls, which Susan Harris was one of the Golden Girls founders, I guess. Okay, that's not what I want to know. Is Sam Harris a psychologist or a psychiatrist? Doesn't look it. Doesn't look it. Maybe I'm wrong. Okay, let's just keep going here. This is going to get good.
He was just living in the grip of a dangerous and idiotic worldview.
So he wasn't. What did he just say here? Listen to this.
More or less normal human being.
He was a more
psychologically.
More or less normal.
He was just living in the grip of a dangerous and idiotic worldview.
He was a normal person living in the grip of a dangerous and idiotic worldview. Try to fit those two things together. Normal psychologically, but suffering from something very deeply psychologically problematic. Dangerous and problematic, according to Sam Harris.
The moral structure he imagined he was living under and wanted to impose on the rest of the world, given his beliefs, was despicable. So he created immense harm, and it's very good that we killed him. But within the framework of his odious beliefs, he demonstrated many virtues.
Can you believe this? In the grips of odious beliefs, did terrible things, but he displayed many virtues. And wait until you hear what Sam Harris thinks are the virtues of Osama bin Laden compared to what he thinks are the vices of Donald Trump.
He was a man who certainly seemed to be capable of real self-sacrifice, and he was committed to ideals beyond his narrow self-interest.
This is the concept of a true believer, which
he was, by all accounts, personally quite courageous. I don't claim to know that much about him, but it wouldn't surprise
He was quite courageous by sending other people to do the most heinous deeds imaginable.
me at all if he was generally a person of real integrity and generosity and compassion in his dealings with his fellow Muslims. None of these things can be said about Donald.
You have to hear that, by the way.
About him. But it wouldn't surprise me at all
him
if he was generally a person of real integrity and generosity and compassion in his dealings with his fellow Muslims.
Sam Harris seems to be largely unaware of a very, very material fact that the number one victim of certain ideological terrorism are Muslims themselves. And Sam Harris here, I don't know him, but it wouldn't surprise me if, contrary to everything that is known, he was actually very compassionate. And he has to qualify, not to others, because that would make Sam Harris look like an idiot, but to his own people, which some might vehemently disagree with as a matter of fact.
And compassion in his dealings with his fellow Muslims. None of these things can be said about Donald Trump.
None of these things.
Trump is, without question...
Without question, by the way. There's no point in even having the discussion. Without question. It's done. If you have the question, you're an idiot.
One of the least honest and most malignantly selfish human beings I have ever come across.
He's never come across Trump. But yet throw in fancy words. Malignantly selfish. Oh, he's the least honest. Malignantly selfish. A man, as I tweeted to Sam Harris before he blocked me, who even Howard Stern recognized had no need to run for office, was going to get nothing out of it, was going to go from a loved, wealthy individual with a life that everyone adored to the most hated man in the world who could never make certain people happy. Howard Stern warned him, this sacrifice that you're making is one that you don't need. It's one that in hindsight, you're probably not going to have wanted. It's going to bring you nothing but headache. But Sam Harris has come to his determinations about a man
and most malignantly selfish human beings I have ever come across.
He's never come
and
across.
And the paradox here,
the paradox.
It's not really a paradox, but it's what makes the point I'm making confusing to many people.
Yeah, you're all dumb. If you've misunderstood what Sam is saying, you're dumb. It's not that he's idiotic. It's that you're dumb.
Paradox is that if Trump were a better person, he would be worse in many ways. If he were brave and self-sacrificing.
Self-sacrificing. Sam Harris, a man who goes from, I don't know, relatively wealthy, making money hand over fist, to what's the presidential salary? It's less than Fauci because Fauci is the highest paid federal employee. So I don't know, $270,000, $300. Yeah. No self-sacrifice there, Sam. No sacrifice in giving up business, in giving up entertainment opportunities. Oh, and maybe the argument's going to be it's not sacrifice because the prestige that comes with being president is priceless. Trump is not giving up anything. To have become president gives him something that's worth more than money. Yeah, that's the argument. To pretend with a serious face, that's not necessarily the face of him talking here, that there's no self-sacrifice in a man who basically went from an independently self-made or family-made, however you want to call it, a very wealthy individual who then goes into politics, as opposed to all those other politicians who go into politics and then get immensely wealthy. Oh yeah, no self-sacrifice there. But let's hear more about what Sam Harris thinks about the most selfish man he's ever come across that he's never come across.
And idealistic. If he were capable of being strongly committed to something beyond his narrow self-interest, he would be capable of creating much greater harm.
Narrow self-interest. What was Trump's narrow self-interest in running for president and in the policy as president? What was his narrow self-interest in building a wall?
In the world. But he's not.
No, he's not, of course.
He is a child in a man's body.
Oh, it's beautiful.
He lies as freely as he breathes and just as compulsively.
Hey, Sam, people don't breathe compulsively. They breathe reflexively. Your breathing system is not voluntarily. It's not a compulsion. It's what's the word I'm looking for? Systemic. There's a word for that part of your neurological system. Even your analogies, they sound nice and they sound smart. People do not breathe compulsively.
He lies as freely as he breathes and just as compulsively. He can't even put the interests of his children above his own, much less commit himself to any ideal that requires real self-sacrifice.
Can you imagine this, by the way? Level of dishonesty and stupidity. He can't even put the interests of his children.
He can't even put the interests of his children above his own.
Sucking and blowing it. I haven't pulled up a tweet yet of Sam Harris accusing Trump of nepotism. Has Sam Harris accused Jared Kushner, Ivanka Trump? Has he accused any of the kids of nepotism, of having only gotten their jobs because of who their daddy was? So he accuses him on the one hand of not even being able to put his own interests above those of his kids, while simultaneously saying that he's giving his kids favors because of who he is.
Freely as he breathes.
Oh my God.
And just as compulsively above his own, much less commit himself to any ideal that requires real self-sacrifice.
What does Sam Harris know about real self-sacrifice?
Unlike bin Laden, it is patently obvious that Trump isn't psychologically normal.
Oh, of course it is. It's patently obvious, Sam, and anybody who questions it, because we're now into the realm of diagnosing people. Osama bin Laden, totally psychologically fine because Sam said so. Donald Trump, it's patently obvious he's not. End of story.
He really is missing something that almost every other person on earth has. He is an absolute black hole of self-regard. When I say that wherever you are on earth, you could probably walk 1,000 miles in any direction and not meet a less admirable human being than Trump.
Can you imagine the arrogant pomposity that this diatribe takes? This is basically TDS porn. I mean, this is Trump derangement syndrome pornography.
I mean it.
Oh, yeah.
In
Tell me more about how much you hate Donald Trump. Oh, yeah. Let me just hold on 1 second. Zip. Tell me more.
Terms I just described.
Oh, yes.
The man is almost completely lacking in personal virtue.
More, Sam.
He's
More.
not funny. And I admit he can be funny.
Oh, you're so honest.
He might actually be the least admirable person on earth.
Oh, he might be the least admirable person on earth. Give me more, Sam. You haven't. I'm almost there. I'm almost there. Oh, great job with Jackson Hinkle last night. That was phenomenal. Sam Harris, and then he blocked me on Twitter, by the way. Even before this, all that I said was, it takes some audacity to make these statements. Howard Stern recognized that Trump, made a sacrifice he did not need to make. And how on earth? I mean, whatever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But it's what a voice of courage. Say what you believe about somebody else, and then block people for criticizing you for your immensely moronic statements. That's courage. That's self-sacrifice. That's standing by what you believe in, Sam Harris. Oh, yeah, please go on. Tell me more about how dirty and naughty Donald Trump is. Oh, okay. We're done with Sam Harris. I couldn't avoid it. The level of it's delusional. I mean, it is delusional. It's not called Trump derangement syndrome for no reason. But the idea to forgive one person's ideological framework, they're good. They're just caught up in something dangerous and terrible that, was responsible for one of the greatest atrocities in the history of mankind. But he's courageous. He's self-sacrificing, even though he sent other people to do the deed. But Donald Trump is clearly patently deranged. You can't walk 1,000 miles anywhere and not come across anyone who's worse than Donald Trump. I'm not being hyperbolic, though. But if you've misunderstood that statement, I can't help you. Okay, done.